And Michelle.
Here.
And I'm here.
Good.
Clearly.
Welcome, Fatima. Tell me how to say your name. Fatima? She's muted.
Fatima.
Fatima. Well,
Yeah.
welcome. If you would like to read your oath of office as the student body representative, please.
I do hereby solemnly pledge myself faithfully to discharge the duties of my office. I give my pledge that I will do everything in my power to uphold the Constitution, that I take the obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and to promote the general welfare of the student body of Carpinteria High School.
Thank you. Welcome. And I think you have a report.
Yes. The report. Here it is. The students, teachers, and staff welcomed this school year by distributing textbooks and Chromebooks this week before the beginning of the school year. Although the school year is currently via distance learning, students and teachers are doing their best to adapt to the current mode of instruction. Under the guidance of Mrs. Rogan, students were given spirit bags that contained school supplies and a school t-shirt. The bags were possible to generous donations from local organizations and individuals. It was great seeing everyone drive up and collect their spirit bags. Last week, students in the art class team and in computer graphics were issued Apple MacBooks in order to present students with full Adobe suite. As we all know, as students gain post-secondary skills, it's important to learn using the tools of the trade, and in this case, that happens to be Adobe Suite. Last night, the counselors posted their 9th grade parent videos, and tonight at 6:30 p.m., they will host a Q&A session with parents. Parents will be able to meet the counselors and ask any questions related to courses, schedules, college planning, and grades. All of this will be done via Zoom. Next week is the end of the 6th-week grading period. We asked the students and parents to review their online gradebook and submit any missing assignments that are still possible. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great first report. Good job. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the September 10th meeting?
We're missing the Pledge of Allegiance, Sally.
We don't have a flag.
Oh, but still, I think that we should do it.
Okay. Will everybody please stand, if you can? Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would somebody like to approve the minutes from the September 10th meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes were approved. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
To approve?
So moved. Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Roll call.
Aye. Oh, sorry.
This is for the agenda and consent, right, Sally?
Yes.
Right.
Jamie, it's the roll call.
Okay. Michelle?
Aye.
Rogelio?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
And I am I.
I have a comment to make even before we start, so that it doesn't happen again. So, okay, this is what I'm gonna say. It won't take at the most 2 minutes. Okay, during the last board meeting, a lot of people have complained to me on my private phone on the street, and also have complained on the district's email, and that's the terrible thing that happened, where the voice of Hispanics actually were put aside or ignored, and the district actually takes pride on bilingualism, DLI, and doing that, it just proves the opposite. And these people are US citizens. They pay property taxes. They have children in the district, and they have the same rights as any other person, regardless of color, to be treated the same. We just said it in the Pledge of Allegiance, with liberty and justice for all. And I think that they deserve like to be informed occasionally of what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Donna.
Thank you, Sally. So I'd like to begin with appreciation. I'd like to recognize our CHS biology teachers, Audrey Rogan and Mandy DeWitt. They worked with the parents for CHS to welcome back to school all the CHS students with brand new 2021 Warrior t-shirts, CHS stickers, and school supplies. These back to school kits brought smiles to students' faces as they drove through the CHS parking lot to pick up their school materials and CHS supplies. So thank you to Audrey and Mandy. We have also another thanks and appreciation to the 93013 Fund. The 93013 Fund is a program of the Rotary Club of Carpinteria Sunset Charitable Foundation. They have generously raised funds a second time to provide 100 bags of necessary school supplies for elementary CUSD students learning at home. 67% of our students are poor and do not have access to learning materials at home. We are so grateful for the ongoing generosity and support of the 93013 Fund for our schools. Our next item is the elementary school waiver application. On August 21st, Dr. Anzorg, who's our health officer of Santa Barbara County Public Health, announced that Santa Barbara County would accept waivers for elementary schools to reopen in-person learning. The waiver application includes all the components of the reopening plan adopted by the school board on August 11th, plus consultation with labor and parent organizations, as well as the every 2-month COVID testing for staff. At the September 15th board meeting, submission of the waiver was approved by the board based on a very low incident rate of positive COVID-19 cases in the Carpinteria, Summerlin, Montecito areas. The board adopted comprehensive reopening plan for protecting the health and safety in students and support from parents, staff, and community organizations. The CUSD comprehensive reopening plan was developed during the past 3 months with the input and feedback from the CUSD leadership team, teachers, staff, parents, and community members. We met 10 days in the summer with the union to discuss the reopening plan. This plan reflects the CDPH framework for opening schools, CDPH industry guidance for schools, and Santa Barbara County Public Health guidance for schools. The focus of the plan is safety, and it includes the following components: planning assumptions, goals for reopening, general safety conditions, planning phases, promoting healthy and hygiene practices, intensified cleaning, disinfectants, and ventilation, implementing distance learning, implementing distancing inside and outside of the classroom with student cohorts no more than 14 students, train all staff and educate families, check for signs and symptoms, plan when a staff member, child, or visitor becomes sick, maintain healthy operations, and considerations for partial or total school closures. The CUSD Board of Trustees discussed this plan at both public board meetings on July 28th and August 11th, with public comments from teachers, staff, parents, and community members. On August 11th, the board voted their approval of the reopening plan, which is posted in English and Spanish on the CUSD website at www.cusd.net. The elementary waiver application includes the required components of the reopening plan, with the addition of the every 2-month staff COVID-19 testing with MRSO labs, as well as the August 25th Santa Barbara County Public Health protocols for symptoms, potential exposure, and/or close contact with an individual testing positive for COVID-19 in a school or classroom setting. The elementary waiver application is posted in English and Spanish on the district website. It was submitted to County Public Health on September 16th. Today, we responded to the Public Health's request for additional information. Today, Public Health also presented a update to another train. Today, Santa Barbara County Health provided another COVID-19 update to the County Board of Supervisors. The current metrics indicate 6.5 positive cases per 100,000 residents, and positivity rate 4.3%. So if Santa Barbara County continues these metrics, we will be moved to the red tier next week. That's September 29th. And then that means that within 2 weeks, all schools in Santa Barbara County will be able to open on October 13th. The next item is the PPP update. Personal protective equipment inventory is maintained daily at the school district. PPP is ordered regularly to increase and replenish the supplies as we distribute all the PPE to school sites and staff. The inventory includes no-touch thermometers, hand sanitizer, which is individual, portable stations, wall-mounted stations, and bulk, adult and student cloth face masks, adult and student daily use face masks, face shields, gloves, shoe covers, safety aprons, KN95 masks, safety goggles, and alcohol-based disinfectant wipes. Clorox Lysol wipes are in supply. However, we have not been able to reorder brand name or generic for some time. There are alcohol-based disinfectant wipes in inventory, which are available for order and supply to staff. Clorox Lysol wipes and sprays are categorized as cleaning chemicals, not PPE. Custodial supplies for disinfecting and cleaning are also not included in the PPE inventory and are available in the warehouse. Portable hand sanitizer stations are assembled and are delivered to the elementary schools this week and placed outside in the classroom. We've also received additional portable wall mount stations that are mounted in each classroom so that there'll be stations on all sides of the classrooms. The business team is preparing classroom readiness kits for elementary classrooms that will consist of student-sized sanitizers, one for each student, a pump bottle of sanitizer for the teacher desk, a 5-pack of cloth masks for the teacher, a box of 50-day use adult masks, a box of 50-day use student masks, a box of medium gloves, and 1 face shield for the teachers. All sites have the PPE order form and can request supplies directly from the district warehouse. The next item refers to the CDPH guidance related to cohorts that we received on August 31st and September 4th. On August 31st and September 4th, California Department of Public Health published guidance for schools to provide necessary in-person limited instruction, target support services, and facilitation of distance learning in small group environments for a specified subset of children and youth, and for those programs that required health and safety practices needed to prevent the COVID-19 in their settings. A cohort is defined as a stable group of no more than 14 children and no more than 2 supervising adults, in a supervised environment in which they stay together for all activities. Physical distancing and face coverings are also required. This guidance enables schools to provide supervision and care for students, including specialized services for students with disabilities and English learners, and in-person support for at-risk and high-need students. Secondary special education students at CMS and CHS are struggling with remote learning and making minimal progress on their IEP goals. The district leadership team is working with CMS Principal Lisa O'Shea and CHS Principal Gerardo Cornedo and their site special education teams to develop plans to provide in-person instruction for cohorts of special ed students at the middle school and high school following the CDPH guidance. CHS Athletics. The CDPH issued guidance related to in-person instruction for small cohorts in a school setting permits reopening of CHS athletics on campus. Principal Corneo is working with Athletic Director Pat Cooney and the coaches to schedule in-person team conditioning within the next 2 weeks. Our next item is UCSB Destination College Advisory Corps, DCAC. We welcome College Advisor Aileen Solis to the high school as an integral team member in college advising and the application process. She is dedicated to making the college application process more accessible to high school students and their families, and she'll work directly with the students and their families on navigating their journey to higher education. She supports students by researching colleges and majors, securing scholarships, and completing the application process for admission and financial aid. Aileen is available to meet with students and families throughout the school year, and she will host virtual workshops during the fall semester. And she can be contacted at her email at UCSB. The next item is CalSoap Tutoring, which is available to both CMS and CHS students with their remote learning, and they contact their school counselors. The last item is Measure U, and tonight the Measure U team is providing a Measure U project update during this board meeting, and their PowerPoint presentation can be viewed at www.cartmeasureu.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Have a quick comment on this?
Sure, how can I help you?
Oh, yes. First page, on the second to last paragraph. I would like to say that as of today, Carpinteria is still part of the county on the purple tier. And also that according to the coastal view, a majority of staff and parents were against the waiver. Quiero decir que la mayoría de maestros y de padres de familia estuvieron en contra de que los estudiantes regresaran a clases el día, en grupos de 14 estudiantes el día 1 de octubre, y que Carpintería el día de hoy es parte del condado quien está en el grupo morado. On the last paragraph, I would say that these meetings with the union, 10 or 11 days, that these meetings were about remote learning on every school sites and not about elementary sites. Quiero decir que las juntas que tuvieron, 10, 11 juntas que tuvieron con el distrito con el sindicato de maestros, fue acerca de la instrucción de la educación remota por internet, y no fue acerca de abrir las escuelas primarias el 1 de octubre. También quiero decir que una mayoría, según el periódico local, Coastal View, fue una mayoría de padres y de profesores quienes estuvieron en contra de que se abrieran estas las escuelas primarias. Now, let's go to now second page. On the second paragraph, where it says that the board voted their approval of CUSD reopening plan. Again, I would like to say that this was about remote learning only. Nuevamente, este asunto que se tuvieron fue para la educación así remota, a la distancia solamente, no fue para abrir todas las escuelas. O sea, las escuelas primarias. Now let's go back to the last page. CHS athletics. I have these questions. Ahora vámonos a la parte de deportes de la secundaria. You're talking about the CHS athletics. What kind of sports are we talking about? And what would be the protocol to be followed? Lo que pregunto es, se habla aquí de deportes de la prepa, y lo que mi pregunta es de qué deportes se está hablando y cuál es el protocolo a seguir. También ahora ya en los juegos oficiales para la gente, no solamente para los estudiantes, ¿cuál es el protocolo a la gente que va a estar ahí asistiendo? Now, let's say that on official games, what would the protocol be on people attending these sports? What sports would be allowed to start? Like, first of all, they're talking about conditioning in 2 weeks. And then if there is a conditioning, then that would be followed by official games. So I'd like to know the protocols of these sports. Let's say, would it be softball, baseball, football, water polo, tennis, and that's as far as the students. Now, I would like to know about when we have official games, the protocols for the people in assistance. But what would they be, and how are we going to make sure that they actually these rules and regulations can be taken care of? Those are the questions that come to my mind as soon as I read CH Athletics.
Thank you. So just to go back, the August 11th reopening plan was not remote learning. The board voted for the reopening plan on August 11th. And we spent the month of July working with the union on the reopening plan, which is why on July 28th, many of the staff and teachers and community members attended our board meeting and provided comments on the reopening plan. So in the reopening plan, there are specific procedures for in-person instruction or small group cohorts. And there's procedures for any staff member or student athlete who enters campus. The athletics is part of the small group cohort guidance, and it requires the face masks, the social distancing. It requires the attestation that you have no COVID-19 symptoms. It requires the temperature checks. So all the protocols that are in our reopening plan, the athletes and the coaches will follow, just like the small cohorts will follow. We're not talking about competition. We're talking about athletic conditioning. And CIF has listed the fall sports. And those are the coaches, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so let's talking about water polo. What kind of rules are going to apply there? Talking about just the conditioning?
It's conditioning. and it's one coach to 14 students.
Okay, so upon entering, they have to be wearing a mask, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
The
that.
temperature take, they're supposed to be that they're supposed, whoever's in charge is supposed to be taking the athlete's temperature, correct?
We have an athletic trainer on site, and they will take temperatures of students entering the site.
What about masks, face masks?
Yes, we've provided face masks. We have face masks for students. They can bring their own, but we have enough face masks, yes.
Okay, so the way I'm listening to you is that there's not a set date for like official games. It's all about.
But we're not
conditioning.
talking about competitions. We're just
So-
talking about athletic conditioning right now.
So okay, I understand that, but if we are not going to have official games, why have all this conditioning? You know what I mean? So
CIF
that
has
probably we could have official games probably in January, February.
yes.
I have a comment.
Yes.
So as a former high school athlete myself, where I played varsity softball, we conditioned all year long with cardio and weights and skills. So you can definitely, you want to stay in shape throughout the year, even when you're not in the competition mode.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
I'm going to move on to the D2, which is the Measure U update. The Measure U team is present, and they are going to provide information only to the board. And I think Cindy will oversee this. So welcome.
Right. Thank you. I'm going to put up our presentation, hopefully. Okay. And hopefully it's going to work just like a regular slideshow, right? So let's see here. Oops. We are at the end. Hang on.
That's the last question. That's the last page.
I know.
Scroll to the top, yeah.
We could start with the questions, or should we just, all right, so now we're gonna do slideshow, and I'm gonna say from beginning. There we go. Perfect. All right, so the Measure U team, David Winiger, myself, our architects and consultants are here tonight to provide you with an update on our Measure U projects. So starting with, I'm just give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. I always like to talk about our accomplishments and also our future projects. And then each of the architects will present updates for their particular campus projects. And then I'll finish with an update on our state funding. So first, our accomplishments. Hopefully everybody's aware of all the different things we've been doing on our campuses. We have replaced many portable classrooms with Gen 7 classrooms at the high school, the middle school, and Catalino and Family School. We installed state-of-the-art science labs at the high school. We have modernized existing classrooms at the high school, Aliso and Catalino. And a lot of that work is either in process or close to completion. You will also have noticed, if you've gone into any of these new classrooms, that we have acquired new classroom furniture for all of those classrooms. And then finally, we've been making improvements in our technology, including our fire alarms, communication systems. The teachers all have a significant amount of technology that they can use in their classrooms, and of course, our internet infrastructure improvements. Projects in the pipeline. We've been working on the modernization for the high school gymnasium and you'll see that is in process right now. The high school student success center, which is located in the old high school administration building. We're going to be building a new administration building. We will be doing phase 3 modernization for Aliso School on this next summer, and then finally rebuilding Summerlin School. So those are the projects that were in various phases, either of actual construction or in the final stages of planning. So here is a list of projects for the future. These were all deferred by the board a little over a year ago. So on your left-hand side, you'll see a list of the projects that are planned to be funded by the bond. And they include the middle school multi-purpose room, which is the old gym, main school, which is the modernization of existing classrooms and also replacement of the portables, and then a small modernization project at the district office, which is mainly to improve ADA. Then on the right-hand side, you can see the list of projects that are funded by potential state funds, which if we've applied for those, we've been talking about that for several years now. And if and when we get that money, we will have funding for the high school engineering lab, the Aliso portable replacement project, and then 2 projects at Catalina, which will include the final stages of modernization at the ECLC and the administration building, and then constructing a new learning center to replace the existing library and computer lab. So these are all projects to be considered for the future, and they have been deferred, so no work has been, there's no ongoing work on those for the moment. To give you a big picture of our budget, first of all, we have over almost $94 million of both bond money and other district facility funds available for our projects. We have a little over 15 million of potential state financing that's been budgeted. We've applied for a little bit more than that, and the numbers may come in a little bit higher, but that's what we actually have in our budgets at this time. So right now we have project funding available of a little over $109 million. Expenditures as of the end of August were $54,685,000. So we are about 50% complete based on our expenditures of the funding that we have available or may have available in the future. Okay, so the next project up, Joe Wilcox from KBZ Architects will talk about the high school.
Thank you, Cindy. Good evening, everybody. So this slide shows the site plan of Carpinteria High School. And this past summer, phase 2 of modernization, we modernized the B wing and the F wing, the items or the buildings that are highlighted in red. And very similar to phase 1, we did new flooring, new ceilings, new ceiling fans, new heating and venting systems. We also did the window roller shades, marker boards, flat screens, tack boards. Basically very similar to what we did last summer. We walked the board through buildings wing C and G. And we're in the middle of the process of the gymnasium being renovated. And the gymnasium has new layouts for the locker rooms, the boys and girls side, all new finishes, all new lockers, all new tile, all new plumbing, new bleachers, new IT, new lights, new HVAC, and enlarged public restrooms off the lobby. Cindy, I think you can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Dissects. These are a couple of photographs I took during the punch list walk, which is the final walk that we go through and mark up what they need to do to wrap up. And obviously on the libraries on the left, and then there's sort of a stock classroom on the right. Next slide, please. This is the floor plan of the gym, and in the dark red areas are the locker rooms of the boys and the girls side, and those are the areas that are basically gutted. There's not much left in there right now. And then the gymnasiums, you'll see the next set of pictures. There you go. They're in there doing all the grading inside to get all the levels correct. They're replacing all the plumbing lines, they're replacing the ceilings. The next slide shows how we came up with a plan to protect the existing gymnasium floor. And they actually put 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood on top of ram board, which is a protective paper, before they started doing any work in the gymnasium, and the bleachers will be installed there, as well as lights and motorized backboards and scoreboards. The next slide is the floor of the site plan of the new administration building, which is in the DSA review process. And we're hoping that that will start construction this summer of 2001. Not much to say there. It's a brand new building.
Can you tell everybody where it's located or where it will be located?
You know, that's a good point, Cindy. This doesn't show it very
I'll go back.
existing
to the-
administration. Yeah, good idea. Thank you. So it's located right in front of the F wing, sort of the east end of the F wing, in line with that walkway. Yeah. Thank you, Cindy. I should have shown that. So that walkway that goes to the F wing is the one right on the right-hand side. And it's a little less than 6,000 square foot building. Next slide. Elevations, the front, the architecture really basically is going to match your existing architecture. We've kept it as pretty simple as possible. And I think the next slide, I'm going to introduce Robert Robles to talk about his project, the Student Success Center.
Yes, thank you, Joe. So you can see there, by the way, thank you everyone. Good evening, and I just wanted to start off talking about this project. On this site map here, you could see in the red, in the lower left corner right there, that's the old admin building for Carpenter High School, which we're turning into the CHS Student Success Center. Cindy, can you give us the next slide?
Sure.
So this project's being constructed as we speak. I don't have any pretty pictures to show everybody yet. We're still under construction, but so far it's looking pretty nice. There's one, maybe just to recap what's going on in here. It's a lot of the same types of upgrades and items that Joe mentioned in his other his presentation, talking about the classroom wings. We're talking about interior finish upgrades, technology upgrades, HVAC replacement, electrical upgrades, fire alarm upgrades, door and hardware, restrooms for ADA compliance, as well as sidewalk replacement. It's really, it's almost a brand new building, really, when we're all done with it, this particular project. I would like to mention, though, that what's said in this slide here about the project being completed this month is no longer accurate, since the PowerPoint slides were due prior to us hearing this news, being notified from the contractor that we've had some delays on the project. So, some of the delays are COVID related due to supply chain, but the main upsetting item occurred recently where a truck that contained the project's doors and hardware was stolen. So we're looking at a little bit of a delay in the project. I can't tell the board what the completion date will be now. We're waiting on an update from the contractor, and we're looking to receive that on Wednesday. But probably mid-October for completion now, but again, that's going to be confirmed. So anyway, it's just one of those crazy things. So anyway, I'll keep everybody posted on that, the district that is, when I hear further information from the contractor. Next slide, Cindy. Okay, so now shifting over to Aliso Elementary. If you look at this particular slide, you'll see in blue the projects that the phases of the projects that have been completed. You'll see phase 1, which was completed in the prior summer, which involved D and C wing of the campus. And then phase 2 is also showed in blue, which is substantially complete. And that involves building A and E. Building A is the old 1934, I believe, original campus classroom building. And then building E is a pretty old classroom building from the 1940s. And then looking forward into next summer, you can see phase 3 in green. I should probably also add that that's not really part of this exhibit, is that in phases 1 and 2, a substantial amount of site work was completed, meaning sidewalks and the extension of underground utilities to all the buildings in the project, including the buildings that are part of phase 3 for next summer. This puts us in a good position to complete phase 3 on time and for next summer. So that's a good thing. It was a major challenge getting all that work done, but it was amazingly done on time. So very happy about that. So let's move on to the next slide, please, Cindy. So what you're seeing here is in this particular slide is our photos showing the new entrance to the new administration wing of Aliso School, which is inside the old 1934 original classroom building. So you can see the new front door that we have in there, and the new entrance along with the accessible pathway up to the door. Next slide, please, Cindy. And then you can also see the new front office inside that original 1934 building, as well as a typical classroom in the 1934 building. So just to bring everybody, to sort of remind everybody, what we did in this particular project was to move the administration wing that is currently housed in the multi-purpose building built in the 60s to the original classroom building. Now in phase 3, we will be able to take the space that was previously housing the office area and convert that into a staff room, like a break room, faculty room. Okay, so then move on to the next slide, please. Canalino Elementary. Okay, I'm using a lot of the same kind of color coding as I did before. You can see in blue all the phases that were complete. We've been working on Canalino so far for a couple summers now, and also throughout the intervening spaces between the summers. And you can see that the classroom buildings G, D, C, and A and H wings have been are completed, as well as the HVAC retrofit for the J building, which is what you guys call the ECLC. And then also what we have going on right now is we have we're removing the temporary classroom buildings that are shown in green, those 6 buildings. So now Canalino will finally, after all that time, have their playground back. So that's I'm sure something that they will rejoice over once they'll be able to use that and kids come back. That also involved not merely just removing the buildings, but also trying to spruce things up a little bit out there on the playground. We're seal coating the whole asphalt playground and also restriping it. And we had to take down some basketball poles and hoops and related equipment in order to place those temporary classroom buildings there. So that all of those are being replaced with new basketball equipment. And then moving over onto the east side of campus, showing in red, this is planned for this December, is to remove those 4 remaining buildings on campus, portable buildings that are slated for removal. That would be, I believe they are buildings 37 to 39, if I'm not mistaken, plus the portable restroom building that's on that side of campus. So anyway, that we have that in the works, in planning to put that out for bidding in December. And that's pretty much it as far as what we have currently in the pipeline.
Okay, before I start talking about Summerlin, I failed to mention a couple of things about the gymnasium. The gym is scheduled to be finished February 15th of next year. We're having weekly Zoom construction meetings, just like we did on the modernization, and the modernization is done. And we're about a little bit over 30% complete on the gym, and they're on schedule, and they're really doing a nice job. Summerlin School, this is the revised site plan after our last presentation to the county BAR. They requested that we make it a little bit more playful and a little bit more Summerlin and a beach community style. And we're scheduled to submit this to the Division of State Architects in February and March of 2021, with construction of July and August of 2021. It will all depend on how we get through the coastal development permit process. Jonathan Leach will be talking about that item. I won't be able to submit it to a DSA until that happens. Another change that has been made in the site plan is we put all the, what I'll call the standard classrooms on the lower portion of the site, and on the upper portion of the site is the administration and the K1 classroom, as well as some restrooms and offices. And what that did for us, it allowed us to create a nicer entry to the campus. We were told by the county BAR that they didn't like the fact that everybody had to walk through the parking lot to get to the front of the school. And I have to agree with them. We were kind of locked into that because that's what's there now. And then in reviewing the photographs, I noticed that that parking lot is littered with lots of trash cans, it just was ugly. So we put the trash cans down off of Varley Street. You can see that under at the very bottom so that the trash will be picked up there. And we've kind of made the planters more curvilinear because the school is the waves. We're scheduled to go back to the county BAR on October 2nd. We did present this to the Summerlin Citizens Association, and they liked it very much. And I've talked to Jeffrey O'Neill with the Summerlin BAR today, and they approved the previous design. And he said he doesn't anticipate there's going to be any problem with this design either. Next slide, please. So here's the rendering. And the other thing that the county wanted us to do is they wanted us to break the buildings up so they didn't look, so they thought they looked a little bit too modular. So we still have the horizontal siding in most locations, but at the pop-outs that we created, we went with a board mat to try to mimic the coastal look. We still have the shade structure in the patio there. There's a shade structure on the west end of the upper building. Let's go to the next slide. And then they wanted us to really change the graphics on the signage, so we tried to liven that up a little bit, and this slide shows a proper porch entrance or proper entrance to the structure. The fence is made out of cement board. They didn't like the chain link fence. And we now have a pedestrian walkway so students and teachers don't have to walk in the parking lot to get to the front of the school. And we also have reincorporated the bell, the original bell right off the entrance there. I think that's my last Summerlin slide. We have another package we sent to the county BAR that has a few more details, which I've sent to Cindy and David, so they'll be able to share them with anybody who wants them. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Jonathan Leach from DUDEC. who's our consultant on the coastal development permit process.
Perfect. Thanks, Cindy. Good evening. I have described this same process for a number of the campuses, primarily within the city of Carpinteria. So the permit authority was the city in those cases. For Summerlin School, it is located in the county of Santa Barbara. So we have a different local permit authority. That jurisdiction does retain coastal permit review authority. So even though the Division of State Architect is the one responsible for doing all of the building code and life safety evaluation for the school, they'll be actually issuing the building permits. The county is responsible for making certain that the school is consistent with the local coastal program, local coastal plan. And as part of that, the county requires a coastal development permit for the school rebuild. Because the DSA is the primary permit authority, though, the county is limited in their review to looking at only the consistency with the local coastal policies, not building code, not zoning, simply coastal policy. However, the county may impose conditions to address impacts upon the public right-of-ways around the property, the way that the education code and the public resources code is written. Typically, the local authority cannot impose conditions with the exception of if the school impacts the traffic and circulation on an adjacent street, the drainage on an adjacent street, or the topography, the slope, how it fits in with the adjacent street. If it does one of those things, then the county can impose conditions on the project. Next slide, Cindy. The overall CDP process requires review by a county board of architectural review. Their charge is to look at coastal visual protection policies, make sure that the school does not block significant views of the mountains from the beach or vice versa. The County Board of Architectural Review, as Joe mentioned, has granted a conceptual approval for, actually, they granted preliminary approval for the original modular design with the decision to move toward a constructed in place type of product. It's necessary to go back to them for another round of review. As Joe mentioned, the first conceptual review was completed. The board asked for a few changes that Joe has described for you, needs to go back for further review. On the policy review side, county planning staff is currently reviewing all of our application materials. The project will go to the decision makers once the preliminary design review is finished by the AR. Next slide, Cindy, please. The other component of it is the completion of CEQA environmental review of the project. That review is required before a permit decision is rendered by the county. County staff has concurred that a Class 2 categorical exemption would apply, which is the least rigorous and least amount of effort and time necessary to get through the environmental review process. That exemption does allow for a complete reconstruction of the existing campus, which is what we're proposing. It allows for up to a 50% increase of the existing capacity. We are having in this reconstruction the same number of classrooms, the same student capacity, so there's actually not an increase. There are no presence of sensitive biological or cultural resources or hazardous materials, which are exclusions. If some of those things exist, you might not be able to use the categorical exemption, but we don't have those restrictions, so we're okay. And we're not visible from a designated scenic highway. So the county should be able to move forward and use that categorical exemption, which is the minimum amount of time for total review. Next slide, Cindy. In terms of the schedule for that CDP review process, generally, that process requires between 6 and 9 months for the county to complete. The first 2 to 3 months, they confirm that they have all the materials that they need for their review, site plans, any technical studies, VAR inputs, complete the conceptual board of architectural review. We haven't quite finished that up yet. We've got to go back a second time. And then the CEQA determination, and that involves, does it need an EIR, or can they use a mitigated negative declaration, or can they use a categorical exemption? So we have just about finished up all of those items in the first 2 to 3 month chunk of work. What's left to do is the preliminary design by BAR and CEQA review, again, the completion of that exemption notice, a staff review for policy and ordinance consistency, and a preparation by staff of a report for the project to be heard by the Planning Commission, and then the Planning Commission hearing itself. I think that's the last slide for me, Cindy.
Okay. Craig Price, our attorney, is here. He's been working with us also in the process with the county. Craig, do you have any updates for this presentation?
Yes, thank you. I received an update today, but just for the board's information, what we hope is a small fly in the ointment involves a determination that was received the end of July, perhaps, indicating that they wanted to require the district to improve county right-of-way property with curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and potentially streetlights that are surrounding the school on all frontages. And so staff and our consultants, Joe Wilcox, Jonathan, looked at that and determined that from a planning standpoint, it was illogical in terms of how those improvements would be aligned with the school itself, particularly on very, very narrow Banner Street. But in addition to that, brought me into the picture to ask the legal question as to whether the county could require the school district to construct improvements on county right-of-way property. In other words, property that didn't belong to us. Because under the planning for the site that you've seen, there is no plan incorporated to make any changes to the county right-of-way property, and none was felt to be needed. In any event, there has been correspondence that the team and I worked up together that was submitted to the county last month, in which we told the county that we didn't believe that under applicable law, they had the jurisdiction to impose those requirements on us, because first of all, we were exempt from county zoning under the California Government Code, except as Jonathan indicated, where there are coastal resource policies that are implicated. And we didn't think that what the county is requesting here implicated such a resource. But secondarily, and perhaps more importantly, because there is an associated government code section that gives to the county the right to enforce or to require that a school district construct off-site roadway improvements, but only if the school project itself is going to impact the county road-of-way in terms of grading, drainage, or the roadway itself. And through working with your engineer and Joe Wilcox and Jonathan, we attempted to demonstrate in our letter to the county how none of the Summerlin School rebuild components would impact the county road right away, and therefore there was no basis for them to seek to have us make those improvements. And last of all, we pointed out to them that in the event that they nevertheless insisted that we make those improvements, the school districts are given under the government code the right to not move forward and make those improvements. In other words, it makes it optional for us, with the proviso that afterwards the county would not be liable for anything that occurred. Not having heard back since sending our letter last month, I contacted first the county counsel's office today, and then the deputy there referred me to a gentleman in the Department of Public Works who was kind enough to call back a short while before your board meeting started. And he indicated that he had been directed to move forward and to include the improvements that the county had previously requested. In other words, the curbs, gutters, and sidewalks along all the frontages, in order that the Public Works department be seen as being consistent with their development approval procedure for all developments, regardless of any exemptions that may or may not exist. And that it would be up to the higher authority, which would start with planning and development, to determine whether those requirements that were being recommended for inclusion would in fact be included in the coastal development permit or not. The gentleman from Public Works indicated that the basis for their seeking these improvements was under conditional use permit provisions that are found in the zoning ordinance. I talked to him about the impracticability of some of the requested improvements, aside from the legal issues that are involved, pointing out, for example, the issues that are along Banner. And he said, well, we're not unmindful of that, but those are things that should be worked out and handled as design changes in working between the district team and our team, and we'll be happy to go through that with you. So the bottom line is that we can expect to receive a letter from the county, which would indicate that they are requesting, as part of their consistent determinations, that roadway frontage improvements be included as part of the project. And the reason why this is so problematic to us, in addition to our feeling that they're inappropriate and unnecessary, is because they are very expensive, and would really cause some issues with the funding for the project. So we're expecting that letter. And once we get that letter, we expect that we're going to work with planning and zoning and seek a determination by them that they will not endeavor to include these various conditions in our coastal development permit. And I believe that Jonathan Leach has also already had a discussion with planning and development in which it was agreed by them that the issues that are raised by these improvements do not implicate Coastal Act policies, and therefore should not be included among any requirements that are imposed on the project. So we will see. If worse comes to worse, which we hope it won't, we do have an option to most likely to opt out or elect not to include these improvements. So we're moving along with the issue, and upon getting the letter from the county, I expect we'll be getting together with planning and development.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Craig.
Greg, I have a question. Greg, are you there?
I think he's muted.
Oh,
Craig, you're muted. Craig, excuse me, Craig, you need to unmute, please. There you are. Thanks, Craig.
Someone unmuted me, I think, because they figured I had talked long enough. So
Greg, I have
back.
a question.
Yes, Rogelio.
Yes. So everything is up to the planning commission on this issue, correct? That's one question. And the other one is that how much are we talking about these improvements?
You talking about the amount of money?
Correct.
Well, speaking for the team, we don't know the amount of money because the actual improvements themselves have the scope of those improvements have not been determined. So for example, there's no point in costing out putting sidewalks, curbs, and gutter on Banner Street because it's a very small, very narrow street that would not even allow for those improvements to be put there. So it's very difficult to cost out improvements that for a portion of the site wouldn't even be practical. And I don't know whether Joe or anyone else, Joe Wilcox or anyone else, would have any kind of an estimate as to what the cost would be if those improvements were required, say, just to be put along Valencia.
Oh, I see. So it's actually it's the planning commission's discretion to tell our districts, okay, go ahead, don't worry about these improvements. Is that correct?
No, it's partially correct. It's not, don't worry about these improvements. What we would be asking the planning staff to do would be to recommend to the planning commission that these improvements not be required, because under the law, there is no calling for these improvements, not to our property, but to county property, if the project we're building does not negatively impact the county roadway. So we're asking the county to not include these improvements as part of our coastal development permit, because we don't think that the county is entitled to ask us to do that under the law. In other words, we don't think they have the discretion to do that. And we're hopeful that the county is going to agree with us.
Yeah, because actually it's their responsibility to go ahead and pay for those improvements.
Sorry, I didn't get your.
Oh, so because actually
question.
it's their it belongs to them to pay for all of these improvements and not the district.
Ordinarily, what happens with private development is that the county will require that the portion of its right-of-way that borders the private development, that also be improved, even though that land isn't owned by the private developer. And the county seeks to impose these requirements on everyone And only occasionally, in fact, I think it was a first time for the public works gentleman that I spoke with today, where he's encountered this situation involving a school district that's in the coastal zone. So it's an unusual situation that comes up. And in this case, as in a handful of other instances, when it does, the staffs of the two agencies always need to work things out, to sort things out, because there are overlapping jurisdictional issues.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Craig. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raelia.
Thank you.
Can you just clarify one question for me? So even if the county says you need to install these roadways and the drainages and such not, we can still bypass that because of the DSA regulations? Is that correct?
The government code gives us the opportunity to bypass those regulations. Yes. However, if and to the extent that those same conditions are included in the coastal development permit, then the right to bypass most likely would not be applicable, because our ability to carry out the improvements requires that we have an approved coastal development permit.
So this entire project is dependent on the coastal development permit, basically.
And I think you all understand that although we're dealing with a different jurisdiction, that for all of the other projects that you just heard about, that they also involve the need for a coastal development permit, but in those cases from the city of Carpinteria, because all of our schools are within the coastal zone.
Can we go on?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to give you a quick update on our state funding applications. We've got a little over 16 million that we've submitted. And on April 2nd, we received a 90-day letter for our first application, which is new construction funding for Canalino and the family school. And that application was 2.6 million. What that means is when a district gets the 90-day letter, that means that the Office of Public School Construction is reviewing our application, which is great news. It's way in advance of when I had been hearing we would actually be getting funding. Remember, I've been giving information 2022, 2023. And apparently OPSC is working on the new construction applications more quickly. And so normally what happens is you get a 90-day letter, you give them some additional information, and sometime after that, somewhere around the 90 days or a little bit after, the application goes to the state allocation board, and then we are approved for that funding. And then in the next bond sale, which would have been 6 months later, we'd be getting that money. So I was really excited about this because it sounded like we could get our money for this particular project this next spring. We did get I asked our consultant to contact OPSC and see what was happening, because it's been a little more than 90 days. It's been 5 months. So I wanted to hear whether it was delayed or what was happening. And the person that she contacted said that OPSC was running a little behind, just like everybody else, and that they felt that we would actually go to the state allocation board this next February, and we would get funding in fall of 2021. So it's putting this process about 6 months later than we had first assumed. So that's my update about that particular application. The rest of the applications, which are all modernization funding applications, are still in a queue somewhere at OPSC waiting to be reviewed, and estimates are that they would be approved and funded by February 2023, which is still 6 months earlier than the original estimate. But we'll see. They seem to be moving targets. So that's my update for that. Once we know that we're actually getting that funding, then we'll be able to discuss and plan which project we should use that money for, because all the other projects are on the deferral list, right? So we could talk about that. So that's my update on the state funding applications. And then, I'm sorry, you want to go back to this?
I have a question, a quick question on this. We were talking about this deferred projects by potential state funds, meaning that potential means we might get those funds or we might not. So far, 2.6 million are in the bag. And you talk about how many more million coming from the state?
Well, our total applications are about 16 million.
16, so probably, okay, let's make it 13 more million than we are expecting from the state, correct?
Sure.
So, was the total estimate, it's 50, it's so far we had Mr. Yu has spent on projects 54 million, and so there's another 54 million left for the remaining projects. Now, I've been asking you this ever since I got in the board. Would this be enough to cover all of the projects that are still unfinished, or the actually unfinished or deferred?
So we don't know the answer to that question, because what we would be doing and what I was proposing in my last slide is that we present to the board in January, February, some updated budgets for those projects, so we can talk about it. Obviously, there's been inflation, different things have happened that change the value of the project. So I can't tell you today whether we're going to have enough money 4 years from now to do everything or not.
Because this state money actually is given, awarded on a first come, first served basis, correct?
Well, you have to be qualified for it, and then you do your application, and then you go in the line. So you're correct in the sense that your application is considered based on where you are in that line when you submit your application.
You know where we stand right now on that line?
Right. Everybody's got a spot on the line. And so that's how school facilities consultants can kind of estimate where they think what time period our projects would be approved.
So it means that a lot of school districts are going to be left out because the money is going to run out, correct?
Well, the way it all worked was the total amount that was authorized in the state bond measure, it did run out. Everybody has applied for it. We put in our applications, and once they used up the amount of money approved in the bond measure, they're not taking those applications anymore. So what I'm saying is they're not going to run out of money for us because we were in line and there was still money at the time we got into line.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah?
It makes sense. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay, great. Okay, so the last project, or the last slide, what we're thinking where we need to go with all of this is it's important to keep our projects moving. We've talked a lot about the projects that we're going to be doing this next summer, but we need to start thinking about the projects that are on the deferral list, either because we're going to get state money or we still have bond money we can use for those projects. So my proposal was to do another presentation, say in February, where we provide updated budgets for these future projects, and the board would review the deferred projects, and you could kind of take a look at which projects we should be focusing on next, because we do have bond money set aside for some of those projects. You saw that in the slide, the multi-purpose room at the middle school, main school. There's a number of projects where we have bond money available if we choose to use it that way. So it would be a board decision about whether we should continue to defer those projects or move forward on those, or use the bond money for a different project that's you know, on the list. So I think that's what the next action would be moving forward.
Yeah, because there's actually 5 more deferred projects left. One at the high school, the engineering lab, and also at the LISO, the portable replacement with site classrooms, and then at Canalino, the improvements of the ECLC and administration building, as well as a new learning center.
So some of those, the proposal, when the board deferred them in 2019, we were planning on waiting till we get state money. So, you know, you just look at the mix of the projects and make a decision about which ones. Should we continue to wait for the state money for those same projects and do these other bond projects? That's the decision to be made. Okay, so we're at the end of the presentation. Any other questions?
I've got one, I think, for Jonathan Leach, Cindy, or possibly Robert. But I'm curious if we have an update on the revised FEMA map, since the freeway is nearly complete through that section that was going to affect the designation of the floodplain.
Actually, I think Robert Schmidt had some information. Robert, can you speak to that?
Hi, everybody. Robert Schmidt here with Flowers and Associates. We did speak to the new Public Works Director for the City of Carpinteria. It is still under review. The current process where it is the city is having a FEMA consultant doing the analysis right now, and he indicated to check back with him in about, I believe it was in March of next year.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Cindy and Robert and Joe and Jonathan. And we appreciate all this information, and it's really exciting to see all the projects that are completed and in progress. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to move on to F1. Oh, no, sorry. We have public comment. Monica, do we have somebody that's speaking?
We had one person sign up, Alexandra Force, but I do not see her online. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're moving on to F1. And I would like to open a public hearing on the availability of textbooks and instructional materials for 2021. I'm opening this hearing at 7:56. Are there any comments from the public about the textbooks? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and we'll move on. Each year, the Carpinteria Unified School District must hold a public hearing on the availability of textbooks and instructional materials for the current year. We're talking about new textbooks for social studies and health at the high school. So if there's no comments, I'm going to close the meeting at 7:56 and move on to F2.
6:56.
Sorry. On my watch, it's 18:56, so I don't know. Okay, F2, Resolution 2874 is a resolution on the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials. And the board is asked to adopt Resolution 2874, which states whether there are sufficient or insufficient textbooks and instructional materials available for every student in the district. The resolution further determines, as required by Ed Code Section 60119, which areas there are sufficient materials. So this is where we're talking about new texts for social studies and health at the high school. May I have a motion on this resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Tammy, this is a roll call.
Rogelio,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
and Michelle,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
and I am aye.
Thank you. And moving on to F3, the approval of the Carpinteria Unified School District Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan for 2020 and 2021. This is a second reading. The board is asked to approve the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan as presented at the September 10th, 2020 Governing Board meeting. I have a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions?
I just had a question. Do we need any updates on it since we have the reopening plan, or is it still good to go like that?
It's still complete.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor of F3?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's passed. Moving on to business and operations and the warrants for the last 2 weeks. The board is asked to approve the warrants for the period of September 4th through September 17th in the amount of $2,620,651.15. Warrants are issued once a week on Thursdays. The report format shows check number, check date, payee, brief account description, payment comment, and check amount. May I have a motion to approve the warrants?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions?
Yes. I have 2 or 3 comments. First page on negotiations, 12 days. That's what we were talking about. $33,000, like a month ago or so. It was 19,000. Again, negotiations. So my message is again, it's a lot of money has been spent on legal fees. Last year, I think it was 148,000 or so. I have that budget plan with me, and that is why the district said that they were planning to cut down 10% on legal expenses. And the way I see it, actually, they've been not cutting down, but actually adding more on legal expenses. So again, watch out on this. Watch out. a lot of money. And another one, okay, now I have a question on the legal services of the Whitney property. It, just by itself, Whitney property, is it because of legal problems with someone, or is it, water meter, or something is happening? So I don't know. It's just, all I have is two boards, property and then Whitney. So I will appreciate another word or two to make it clear, not only to me, but to the community, because the community actually reads legal services. And they might wonder, well, what's happening? I'm still wondering, I'm also wondering what is happening.
I have a question for you, Rogelio.
Yes.
Did you happen to go and speak with Maureen about your questions on the warrants, like she's asked you to do every time that you have questions on the warrants?
No, because,
okay.
Because actually all that I need to know is right here. It's right here. And,
well, apparently that's not all you need to know, because you ask the same questions every week.
No, it's not the same questions as you are as you are finding out. This, and actually, probably I think at the beginning of this year, Diana said, that she would prove that I could ask her any legal question, any expense on legal questions, and that I could share it to the community. It's right there. It's on the record. So I'm just wondering, what is that? I mean,
are you asking Maureen those questions?
No, I'm just making a comment.
Well, I can help out. I can help you out, Rogelio. Regarding the legal services for the Whitney property, you'll recall about 2 board meetings ago, you and the board approved that Craig Price would research and secure engineering services and research the availability of water and sewage at the Whitney property so we could get it ready for selling. And these are his fees in working with the engineers and the specialists to help us prepare the Whitney property for sale. So those are his legal fees for the Whitney property.
Yeah.
So that's where you see that. Legal services, property, Whitney. That's what that project is, which was approved by the board 2 meetings ago.
I understand,
okay.
But
regarding
like sewer services or something that will clarify the whole thing. A lot of people probably didn't see didn't hear, and no one talk about this
I've just got to say one thing here, Rogelio. Every time we talk about the warrants, it's explained that the warrants are on a county form, and the county form only has space for certain items in it. And if you need more clarification on the item, Maureen is more than available for you to go in and ask her, or just email her a question.
Well,
it's not up to us to develop a new form.
I told Diana, okay, I'm gonna go to you. I ask you questions, and I have for example, legal expenses. But then I'm gonna share them, and Diana's response was, yes, you can share this to the community.
We're not saying you can't. You were just saying that it'd be easy to get clarification on this ahead of time.
Well, a lot of times, for example, I got to the warrants today. I was out of town, so like going to see, I don't have an office.
But you
I
can check.
don't have
Yeah,
I mean, I have a lot of things to do. So that is why this is the perfect place to ask. And that way, I don't have to do it. We don't have to do it twice. Because if I go to Diana and ask about any of these expenses, then I will have to share it to the community. I will have to share it to the community. That's what Diana said. I asked her. It's on the record. So this
So
boy,
for the record, again, I think we have said several times that the attorney fees have to do with negotiations. So the more days that we have to negotiate, the higher that line item is going to get.
well, okay, well, but this, okay, that would bring us another issue. But you're going to say, well, this is repetitious.
It's
Well,
fictitious?
repetitious, for example.
Repetitious. Okay.
Union repetitious, for example, union leadership, they don't have an attorney to be doing negotiations because they're capable of doing it themselves. That's it on legal fees. I mean, just for example, yeah, 2 wars, 2 other more, and case case done. So now. Now, let's go to page 3 on the water damage repairs of that incident that happened at the high school over a weekend. Check amount 53,000. So this is a done deal, a closed deal, correct? Because of that.
No, it's not. As I indicated last time, it is an insurance claim that will be submitted. So
Okay.
he paid for the repairs and it has been submitted to our insurance and then the insurance reimburses us. So
And we
it's
are not
an
finished
insurance
with the
claim.
repairs. Yeah, we're not finished with the repairs. It's ongoing.
We're not finished.
We approve that.
So, but you're billing the insurance for 53,000, correct?
We are,
Go ahead, Maureen.
we will bill the insurance at the completion of the project, the entire cost of the project, which will probably be closer to $80,000 or $90,000.
Yeah, because last time I said that the damage amount was 48,000, and
That was just the payment that was made. That's not the amount of damage. And we do have a claim right now with our insurance company on this incident, that we have an active claim.
okay. So all I'm interested is that or the district doesn't pay $1 on this because what happened, it wasn't the district's fault. It was somebody else's fault. So that's why I had this question.
Well, we have a deductible. We'll meet our deductible, but we'll submit it to the insurance and we hope to recover. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's our goal. You're absolutely right, Rogelio. Insurance needs to pay for it and the county who is responsible for it. Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to G2 is a contract with,
We've got to approve the warrants.
oh, sorry. All those in favor of approving the warrants?
Aye.
Opposed? Warrants are approved. G2, the contract with Bay Alarm Surveillance System. Board is asked to approve the contract with Bay Alarm to install a high-definition surveillance system at the Carpinteria High School campus. The installation of a camera surveillance system is to deter vandalism to the campus, as well as to identify perpetrators when vandalism does occur. May I have a motion to approve this contract?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions?
Yes,
I've got a question. Go ahead, Rogelio.
Oh, okay, I have a question. I think that this security cameras, that these high-tech security cameras should have been installed years ago. Probably 3 years, at the very least 3 years ago or so, because there's been vandalism at our school sites, cafeterias, at the high school, and one time Chromebooks were stolen, a lot of them. So it will take probably just a couple of security cameras at the entrance, or even one. But the question I have is that, was this because the measure U was not getting almost near completion? That's all I can think of.
I don't know that I understand your question.
Well, the question is that the district had the opportunity to install these high-tech security cameras years ago, because we had a lot of vandalism, people breaking in, stealing, and no, there wasn't any security cameras at all. So nobody knew who had done it. So now we are going to find out that school says the district is going to be more protected with these. The conclusion that I get is that probably because the measure U 3 years ago was, let's say, halfway. It was not as advanced as it is today. That's the only explanation I can find.
This
Yes,
isn't
I mean, excuse me, you make a really good point, and you're absolutely right. We had to upgrade the network in order to make sure that we got the very best system that we possibly could at the most appropriate pricing. So yes, it wouldn't have made sense, but to do it before modernization, because we had to change the network. So yes, now's the time to do it. You have to do it. Every high school, every school system needs surveillance cameras. And so our modernization is almost complete for the classrooms at the high school. And so now it's time for us to invest in that system. So yes, the timing is good timing. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you very much, Diana.
Thanks.
All those in favor of this motion? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's approved. Moving on to G3, Resolution 2876 of the Governing Board of the Carpinteria Unified School District regarding annual developer fee for the fiscal year 2019-20. The board is asked to approve Resolution 2876, the annual report of developer fees. As required by the Government Code 6001 and 66006, the district is required to deposit all developer fees collected in a separate capital facilities fund, Fund 25, and report on all revenues received and expenses made from that fund. May I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Move to approve.
Second. I can second. Are there any questions? Jamie, this is a roll call.
Sally?
Yes.
Michelle?
Aye.
Rogelio?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
And I am aye.
Thank you. Moving on to H, Measure U. We have the approval of change order number 001 for the Cart Middle School scoreboard project. Change order number 1 is in the amount of $1,900.26, which will bring the contract sum to $60,080.26 paid with Measure U funding. I have a motion to approve this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there a second? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion approved. H2 is the board is asked to approve the lease agreement with Class Leasing for 3 years commencing November 1st, 2020 through October 31st, 2023 to house the Measure U staff. The amount of $64,400 shall be paid with Measure U funding. I have a motion to approve this.
Move to
Move to
approve.
approve. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everybody vote?
Aye. Sorry.
Any noes? Motion is approved. Okay, resolution 2875, a resolution of the Board of Education of Carpinteria Unified School District, Santa Barbara County, California, authorizing the issuance of Carpinteria Unified School District election of 2014 general obligation bonds, Series C, and actions related thereto. The district, wait a minute. The board was asked to approve resolution 2875. An election was held in the Carpinteria Unified School District on November 4th, 2014 for the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds of the district for various purposes is a maximum principal amount of $90 million. The district has previously issued $60 million of Measure U funds. The district now desires to finance additional voter-approved projects through the issuance of the third and final series of bonds under Measure U in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $30 million. May I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? Just want to commend Maureen for all that work. Jamie, this is again a roll call.
Andy,
Aye.
Rogelio,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
and I'm aye.
Thank you. H4 is resolution 2877. The board is asked to approve resolution 2877. An election was held in Carpinteria Unified School District on March 7th, 1995 for the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds of the district for various purposes in the maximum principal amount of $17,500,000. The district issued the following 4 series of bonds under 1995 authorization. The 1.5 million general obligation bonds election of 1995, Series A, 2,740,000 general obligation bonds, 1995 election Series B, and 4 million general obligation bonds, 1995 election Series C, and 9,260,000 general obligation bonds, 1995 election Series D. On September 20th, 2005, the district issued 15,675,000 of its 2005 general obligation refunding bonds, Series A, to refund all the then outstanding 1995 bonds. On June 25th, 2014, the district issued 11,480,000 of its 2014 general obligation refunding bonds to refund all.
You lose Sally.
Did we lose you, Sally?
Lost you.
Lost her voice.
Jimmy, you did.
There you are.
There you are. Thank you.
Did somebody make a motion?
Nope. Move to approve.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Any questions? Jamie, this is a roll call again.
Rogelio,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
I am aye.
Thank you. Moving on to I. I1, the board is asked to approve the following recommended personnel items for assignments, change in assignment, and a resignation. May I have a motion to approve the personnel summary?
Move to approve.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. Are there board announcements about visiting schools or dealing with students or pertinent information about the schools.
Yes, I have one.
Go ahead.
Antes de todo, quiero agradecer a los estudiantes de carpintería que son estudiantes actualmente y que lo fueron. Nos han dado una lección de unidad y de cómo salir adelante. Por todo, por 3 meses, luchar por sus ideales, que en este caso fue el aspecto multicultural. Y ahí están, nos han ido, y creo yo que de ahí podemos nosotros aprender mucho, y nuevamente les agradezco. I think that the students and former students of Cambria High School had taught everybody a lesson, because no teachers, no board members have ever thought about doing a multicultural approach, and they did it. They did it. It didn't matter that they spent months coming to board meetings. It didn't matter that they had actually had to stop doing whatever they were doing, but they were here at the meeting, and that counts a lot. We should learn from them unity, and that's among everyone, among all of us. Because, we all need that. Otherwise, we're going to be not only teachers and community, but us. We're going to keep being divided. And we need to be actually together in basically in everything. That's a success, the success of the district. And I thank the students for coming out and show us the way. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say something positive here, that along with Rogelio, that I don't think that Diana and Maureen and Diana get enough credit for all the hard work they've been doing this summer, and things that we don't see, most people don't see, but the dedication and the way they put themselves out in front of the whole district, and they sacrifice a lot of their own personal time to make sure that every student in our district has an opportunity to succeed, and that that we as a district are able to give every student what they need to succeed. And I just really want to commend the three of you, along with the rest of the staff at the district office. Your leadership is really great, and I know it's very helpful to the site leaders. We've got some very good principals in our district, but our district leadership is outstanding, and I know you guys get a lot of grief pretty consistently, but I just want the community to know that are listening tonight, and that may listen to this later, that these ladies we're so lucky to have them. They're so dedicated, and all they want is for our students to achieve to their maximum potential. And in conversations I have, there's not a mean bone in any of their bodies. And some of the characterizations that have been thrown out are so out of line and incorrect and inaccurate. I just want those parents at home that are listening to this to know that their students have the best people looking out for them. And I just, I think it's important that parents know that our leadership in our district is top notch. They're really the best of the best. So I don't think we commend you enough or you hear that enough, but I thought it needed to be said. So thank you.
Well said, Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Michelle, Jamie?
I just wanted to say thank you to the 3 Spanish-speaking parents who sent us letters of support for the reopening. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Andy, for sharing that. That was very, very true about the leadership. And thank you, Rogelio, for commenting on the students, because they really did do a good job. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Is there Monica, is there anything on the calendar of future agenda items? Monica still.
Yeah, yes. Sorry, Monica.
No, it's good. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. I just want to remind everybody that the next board meeting, we've invited our liaison to County Public Health, who's the former director of Public Health, Susan K. Rothschild. And we've been working with her since March on school closures, school reopening, the elementary waiver. And so she's going to come and give an update on COVID-19 and the schools. So we look forward to inviting her to the Carpinteria community at the next board meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
That'll be
Diana.
great. Yeah.
Jamie? Nope, good.
Good. Thanks, Sally.
Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Sally.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.